What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Minnesota Twins franchise on MLB The Show 18. Today's episode is going to be a bit shorter than most, as today's episode focuses finally on the Major League Baseball first-year player draft. After some success last year, our pick was nowhere near as high this time around, and I feel pretty good about our roster, but there were still some areas where I wanted to add some prospects that can provide depth. I didn't think our outfield situation was good enough, and neither was relief pitching. Overall, I didn't want to necessarily force positions, I just wanted to get some high potential players, because we didn't do a good job of that last year. And right now, we only have one prospect in the top 50, and that is still shortstop Nick Gordon, who could see his time at the majors come eventually, maybe even later this season for September call-ups. These are the players on our roster that have the highest potential. You see a lot of young players there like Maxwell Fowler, Jose Barrios, Byron Buxton. I feel good that we have enough young pitchers to get us a strong pitching staff in the future. But also, I mean, if you want to go acquire players by trade, what better way to do that than prospects that are good pitchers? So I wasn't against adding more pitching to this roster. I thought we had a really good first draft class in the series, and the second, while it had some high overall players for young players who are in the mid-70s already, their potential rating might keep them in the 70s. Signing all the veterans we did this year buys us more time for those young players to develop before they become main parts of the team. So far, Maxwell Fowler has obviously been at the major league level, and I expect Gary Tadano to join him at some point because he's progressing really well this year, and he currently is up to an 80 overall with, I think, some morale boost, and that could go even higher based on him going to the major league level and getting even higher morale. But here are the outfielders in our organization. We do have a few young players who have B potential, but I wanted to add more there. At catcher, I do like Justin O'Connor, but he's already 27, so I thought we could add another player at that spot. And then relief pitcher, this is probably the weakest part of our organization right now, but we do have a couple prospects like Sandy Bunty, who was drafted in that first class. If you followed the series, you know that Lewis Seymour is the prospect I've been targeting. He just is an exceptional player with pretty much the most well-rounded skill set I've seen in this class, but I also knew there was a chance he'd go very early. We scouted a variety of the top prospects in this class, hoping that we could get a good fit with our first overall selection. We did spend some of our picks already, acquiring players who had qualified offers in the offseason, so we did not have a second round pick. So I had to make this first round pick count, and there were high potential players at a variety of spots that I thought would be good fits. And I wasn't at all worried about the MLB ETA or getting players who can make it to the majors within just a couple of seasons. We signed those veterans that we did this year. It buys us some time, and I wanted to make sure we had prospects for the future, maybe after their time as stars are over. So let's go on to the first-year player draft at last. After our success a year ago, we actually selected at number 18 overall, which was kind of lower than I hoped we would be because I knew that our top players would likely go early. And here's how the first round fell. And Lewis Seymour goes at number 8 overall to the Atlanta Braves. Felipe Guerrero was the top overall pick, and he has an MLB ETA of 2023, but he was viewed as the top pitching prospect in this class. Seymour, of course, goes at 8, and we'll check out the final ratings for these players afterwards and see what their potential really is. I've been trying to learn more about how scouting works in MLB The Show, and one thing I've realized is that I'm putting too much of my effort into 80 potential prospects. So I scouted a variety of players that went far before we had the chance to even draft them. But there were some good options for us that we did have fully scouted, including DeMarcus Pelland, an infielder who has 80 potential and an MLB ETA of 2023. Then there was the 20-year-old outfielder Ray Lowry, who also had the same MLB ETA. Then Drew Queller from Canada, who's 18. Ultimately, between those three players, Pelland and Queller both had the high injury risk. Lowry had very low risk, and he was only 20, so he was our selection as we go outfield in the first round. Again, we did not have a pick in the second, so our next selection came in the competitive balance round B. So much of the draft had already gone by that really our scouting board was pretty much empty. I did want to draft Hideki Nakamura at some point because he's a great utility prospect, but I didn't think this was the right spot. I had some interest here in Ben Rodriguez. We had him fully scouted with 70 potential and great speed, and with only 3 players even fully scouted, I made the pick there of Rodriguez. So 2 outfielders to begin this draft, and in round 3 then we went to change things up. I had to really just take some chances here because we didn't have a lot of these players scouted fully. But Vernon Ozuna, an 18-year-old from Pennsylvania, MLB ETA of 2021, I made him our 3rd selection in this draft. And in round number 4, we see that we have another 80 overall option. This is Esteban Machado, a relief pitcher, and I wanted to make sure we came out of the draft with at least 1, so Machado was the selection. And in the 5th round, I was thinking about going for Nakamura or Iverson, who both went right before us at 18. So again, I had to go to a player I didn't know much about. Starting pitcher, Fernando Campos, a 20-year-old from Venezuela, and another left-handed pitcher because our team does not have enough left-handed pitching in their organization. So he was our 5th round pick. And the final round, in round 6, we go to the infield with Matthew Goff from Arkansas. Good contact, excellent speed, as well as a righty pull hitter. This meant that the only need I thought we had to address that I didn't was catcher, but I guess that's alright for now. So that ends the first-year player draft, and here are the ratings. Starting at the top with Ray Lowry, who has 82 potential, that puts him at B. 77 speed, 76 contact versus righties. He's a switch hitter too, and our organization could use some more of those, I feel. Not going to give you a ton of power. One thing I liked here is he already has really high batting clutch. However, as a fielder, it looks like that's where he has the most room to grow as a player. In the 2nd round, we also went outfielder with Ben Rodriguez, a righty who is 18 years old. And he's the fastest player that we drafted. It's at 90 already. Again, his fielding isn't great. Contact isn't as good as Lowry, but again, he's not going to give you much power. He needs a lot more development. He's only at 53 overall right now. Things get exciting though with Vernon Ozuna. At only 18 years old, he has 89 potential. That's a high B. He has a fastball, slider, change, and a 2-seam fastball, and most of his ratings are solid across the board. So I think that with some time, he could have a very bright future. Our 1 relief pitcher drafted was Esteban Machado, whose potential is going to be a low C, but he's already a 74 overall. His hit per 9, home run per 9, and velocity are already pretty good, but how much better is he going to get as a player? Following that selection, we drafted Fernando Campos, who again has high potential as a starting pitcher, and 84 K per 9. Throws a fastball, cutter, slider, and a curveball. So I feel like we are an organization who has a lot of good young pitching prospects, and we just added 2 more intriguing ones. We finished the draft with Matthew Goff, who has a high C potential at 79. He's only a 61 overall right now, but he hits for good contact. It's kind of a theme among these hitters. They hit for good contact, their power and fielding are not that great. Overall, I was happy with this draft class, especially considering that I didn't even have most of them scouted fully. But I know a little bit more going into my next time scouting. Now, if I had the chance, I would have definitely taken Lewis Seymour, and he has A potential, and he can play a variety of positions. Outstanding power, fielding, and contact for a 20-year-old. That would have been awesome to keep him in Minnesota. Felipe Guerrero was the number 1 overall selection, and while it may take some time, he does have maybe the best potential out of any player in this class. He's only 19 years old, but maybe in a few years, he's going to be one of the best pitching prospects in the league. I had interest in infielder Lewis Burrows, who has B potential. He gives you a little bit of power and contact at 23 years old. And he's a rare position player who can only play in one spot, apparently. I had a lot of interest in catcher Herschel Darden, but didn't want to take him in the 1st round. He's only a 54 overall right now, but he has high potential for a catcher. But with how much work the hitting needs, I'm guessing that defense is going to be his primary ability. Julian Zambrano was a top pick of the New York Yankees, who already have some of the top prospects in Major League Baseball. So they just added an A potential center fielder who definitely needs a lot of time before he sees the major leagues. The Chicago White Sox, they took a 99 potential starting pitcher, Miguel Vaccaro. When I was figuring out the players I wanted before the draft started, I wrote down Louis Seymour and Miguel Vaccaro. Didn't come close to having a chance at drafting either. But the White Sox, who have already made so many trades to acquire good prospects, just got another phenomenal one. So we signed all of these players to one-year deals. We didn't let anybody just stay unsigned. So we've taken care of the draft for this season, but next year I definitely want to scout more of the 70 overall players, a few of the 65s, so that I can make a few more informed choices as the draft moves along. But I'm hoping next year when we're drafting, it's even lower. We've gone from 60 wins to 84, and this year we can do so much more if we keep playing good ball. We are 60 games into the year, 102 to go, and we'll resume action next time against the Chicago White Sox as we get to play division rivals now for the next 2.5 weeks. It could be a good chance for us to rack up some wins against 3 teams that aren't as competitive in our division. We're currently trailing the Cleveland Indians, but of course we don't play them in this stretch, and they're on a hot streak right now, winning 9 straight games. So we'll see what happens for the Minnesota Twins coming up next time. I hope you all are enjoying the 3rd season of the series. It's sure been a fun one, and I can't wait to see what the journey takes us next. Thank you all for watching, everybody. Let me know what you thought of our draft selections down below in the comments section. If you have any draft tips for the show, leave them below. I've only done this 3 times. Please smash that like button and subscribe for more, and I will see you all next time. Have a great day.